There is an unusual man in Port Clinton, Ohio, who has sailed many of the waters of the world. He has even been shipwrecked on his small sailboat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
You know, and that in and of itself is quite a bit to report. But as Leon Bibb tells us in the segment of My Ohio with Leon Bibb, the Port Clinton sailor wants to return to the ocean to find something he lost 1,000 miles from land.
Water is his lifeblood, evidenced by a Lake Erie bay rippling to his Port Clinton home. Tom Corrigan has loved these waters since he first sailed Lake Erie when he was 8. 77 years later, Thomas Lewis Corrigan still sails. Last time was January, when he and his boat TLC, his initials, were hammered by a Pacific Ocean storm. 32-foot TLC was but a dot on the Pacific, hundreds of miles from the South America coastline. But to better understand his story, we must understand why an Ohioan sailed alone, looking to pass Cape Horn at the southern end of South America.
I wonder where else I can sail, because I'd made that run to Europe so many times.
With a small crew, he has sailed the Atlantic 7 times. Twice Corrigan did it alone. Feeling the call of the Pacific and leaving from San Diego, another ocean stretched in front of him. Colombia and Ecuador were stopover points from which he again launched, charting thousands of miles toward Cape Horn and his plan to leave the Pacific and enter the Atlantic. But trouble crashed against his hull as he searched for favorable winds which would swing him into always treacherous Cape Horn.
It's much easier for me to sail out 2,000 miles and pick up the westerly wind and head for Cape Horn.
Storms pummel his small boat. His camera rolls. Alone at sea, his repairs don't work. The storm is too heavy. Nearest land is too distant.
I lost all steering. I could no longer sail because the mast was loose. The entire back end of my boat came up in the air, and I thought it was going to hit me. It landed right next to me. Such a mess of stainless steel, tubing and angle iron, that I just couldn't do it, and I finally had to trigger my beacon to ask for help.
Signaling for help, a Japanese freighter 350 miles away gets the word of Corrigan and TLC, broken down, drifting, a leaf in the ocean. Hurt, Corrigan is pulled on board. TLC must be abandoned. She drifts alone now. Later, the Chilean Navy helicopters to the rescue vessel, lifting Corrigan from its deck. Hanging in the sky, Corrigan thinks only of TLC, adrift without its captain.
In the back of my mind, my hope was that maybe the boat would drift in to shore.
A sailor once wrote of the size of the sea. "My boat is so small, and the sea is so big," said the sailor. And so it is with Tom Corrigan. The sea still calls him, and so too does his small boat. With 8 decades of sailing under his belt, the 85-year-old man looks at Lake Erie but longs for the sea, pining for his true home, his boat. Perhaps favorable currents have pushed TLC into a bay. Yes, TLC must be alive, he whispers.
I dreamed that I was standing in the water alongside my boat, pushing her to a dock.
If TLC can be found, the Port Clinton sailor will attempt the windy tip of Cape Horn again.
Since I'm a sailor, I must sail Cape Horn.
Story of an old man and the sea, longing for challenges it presents. In Port Clinton, Corrigan contemplates Lake Erie, but hungers for far distant waters. Eyes as deep and as blue as the ocean, the sailor envisions himself sailing alone with his face and sailboat's bow again pointed for the windswept waters of Cape Horn. In My Ohio, I'm Leon Bibb.